Today we're going to make you a variation of one of the desserts that we made in a previous video. In that video we made an almond panna cotta with a raspberry sauce. We love Reese's peanut butter cups. So today we've taken that recipe and we have modified it and we're going to make you a peanut butter cup panna cotta. Mom's going to show you how to make it. Let's get started.
I'm going to start with about 1/4 bag of chocolate chips, which is about 4 ounces whenever you get a 12-ounce bag. And to that I'm going to add 2/3 cup of whipping cream. I'm doing this over the stove. Now you can do this in the microwave if you want to, but I like keeping track of it a little better. I'm going to turn my heat to a medium high, which on mine it's in numbers, so I'm giving it a 6. And I'm just going to stir that around until that begins to melt just a little bit. Okay, this has taken just about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. And as you can see, it's nice and thick. And to that then, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Kind of stir that in. And to make it a little richer, I'm going to add 1 tablespoonful of coffee crystals. Now this is sort of a scant tablespoonful, it's not piled up. The coffee crystals actually adds a richness and a little extra flavor to chocolate, and I really like it. If you're not careful though, it can be overpowering depending on what kind of dessert you're putting it in. Now when you make this, you are not going to bring it to a boil. You're just going to make sure that the sugar is melted, that it's nice and smooth. And as you can see, that's what we've got there. Now I'm going to be putting this into little glass dishes. So I do not want it to break my glasses, so I will set it off of the heat and let that begin to cool. This is the creamy part of the panna cotta. The chocolate will go in the bottom of the dish because we want this to be a peanut buttery chocolate bar-like. And we're going to start out with 2/3 cup of plain granulated sugar. And to that I'm going to add this gelatin. This is actually making the panna cotta itself. And panna cotta is nothing but a nice, rich, smooth flavored, creamy type dessert. And to that then I will add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I mean 1/8. I didn't have 1/8, so I'm going to have 1/2. And we're kind of mixing that dry ingredients together. That's so that the gelatin will be evenly distributed whenever I pour in 2 cups of whipping cream. This is really a rich dessert, so you don't need to serve it in great big dishes. Then I'm going to place that on the heat. And I'm going to begin to stir until I get that all mixed in. That will take probably about a minute, minute and a half. The plain gelatin makes it really smooth. Now we want that to get hot enough to where that it will melt the sugar, but we don't want it to come to a boil. And then I'm going to add 1/2 cup of whole milk. And I'm going to bring this up to heat until it begins to melt that sugar. Okay, it has been about 3 minutes. Now you want it to be steaming just a little bit, but you do not want it to come to a boil. Then you're going to take that off of the heat, and I'm just going to move it over a little bit. And to that I'm going to add 2 tablespoonfuls of peanut butter. Now that's a tablespoonful, so what I've got on there is probably going to be about 2 tablespoonfuls. That's going to melt into this. You don't want it too peanut buttery or you lose some of your texture. So we're just going to kind of move that around. It'll change the color of your cream a little bit. Be sure that you use a good peanut butter, one that has the sweetener, the salt added to it. Because if you use the natural that does not have any salt to it, this will not taste the same. You need that salty sweet. That melts down just pretty fast. And I'm going to stir it for just a little while, making sure that it's smooth, that it's not stuck to the bottom of the pan. And as you can see, it looks like it's kind of lumpy. That's alright, that really doesn't hurt it any. Okay, I'm now going to set this off of the heat and let that begin to cool just a little bit. Anytime you're putting hot liquid into glass containers, you need to let it cool just a little bit. It doesn't have to be room temperature, but it does need to lose that initial heat that it has. Now while we've cooked the panna cotta, our chocolate has begun to cool. And we're going to pour just a little bit of that in the bottom of each of these dishes. Now we don't want too much, just enough to kind of go into the bottom. That's probably a good tablespoonful of maybe. I'm trying to be really careful because I want these to look nice when we're all done. I have been known to slop it up on the sides, but with this, looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to leave that set on the back of the stove and let it cool. Now my panna cotta has cooled just slightly. Since we're not boiling it, it's actually not getting that hot. And I'm going to pour it into, I have a 4-cup pitcher here, and I'm going to pour that into that. And then I'm going to slowly, and you need to be real careful or you stir up the chocolate in the bottom, but you want to slowly pour that into it. And you can see that as you pour on top, the chocolate comes up just a little bit into it. Pour that to where that it's, oh, maybe 1/4 of an inch from the top. These are actually 1/2 cup serving dishes that I'm putting this in. Of course, I'm hoping that by the time I finish with this, they will be loaded up. Trying to get them even, make sure everybody gets the same amount. Alright, now I have here probably a cup left, and I'm going to just set that aside and we will put that into 2 other dishes, but these are the ones that I wanted to center on because they're the ones I'm going to serve. I'm getting ready to put these into the refrigerator now, and they need to set up at least 4 hours before we put any topping or anything on them. So I'll see you in a little bit. Our panna cotta has set up, and now we're going to dress it, get it ready to be served. Now, anytime that you're doing a catering event, you want it to look pretty. I have some whipped cream here that I have whipped. 1 cup of whipping cream to 1 tablespoonful of sugar. You do not want this too awfully sweet. You're wanting it to retain some of its flavor. We're putting a generous helping on the top. Kind of go back if you need to and straighten it up. And then what I'm going to do is make a little indentation in the top. Not a great big one, just a nice little indentation there. And the reason we did that is because we want to put some of these, they're honey roasted peanuts, and I have kind of chopped them up a little bit. We're going to just kind of aim for the center, but you want a few to kind of fall over the edge. And I tell you, I really like those roasted peanuts, so of course more is not always better. There we go. There's our panna cotta ready to serve.